Guys, Schwinn Gaming here. Today we're going to be talking about some more Java programming. In this specific video, we're going to be going over variables and strings and numbers and all that fun stuff. So, without further ado, let's get started. In the last video, what we did was we made this public static void main right there, and made it print hello world. If we just run the program, it'll say hello world and then terminate itself. And let's get started making some new coding. So, what we want to do, first of all, a variable in Java. There are two types of variables: local variables. Well, there are three actually: local variables, object variables, and static variables. Local variables, as like inside this. If you make the variable inside this public static void main and create a variable there, that would be considered a local one. If you can create it inside this class program right here, it's considered a static variable. It could also be an object, like a variable belonging to an object, but we'll talk about that later when we go over objects and creating your own objects. For now, let's just create two variables. We'll create one static one and one local one. Let's do the static first. So we'll go public static int number equals 100. And all I did there is public, meaning it's any accessible by other classes. Pretty much all of your variables and stuff nowadays will have them until you get more advanced at programming. Static means that it's a static variable. Int tells Java that it's an integer and not, for example, like a number with decimals, which are called doubles in this, or anything else. Number, which is what we're going to call the name of the variable, and then equals 100, just setting the value of the variable. That's simple and all that stuff. Now, we can create variable declarations outside of methods of like the main method. So you could create variables as much as you want out here, but you can't go ahead and do commands outside of here because they're not inside of a method, so they won't run at any time, and Java will throw an error. Like, for example, if we put system.out.println, it would say error, syntax error on token println, because you don't want to, it's thinking it's a variable and not a method. So you want to put anything that's like a command inside of the main method. And now we're going to create a local variable. We'll call it, oh actually no, first let me demonstrate the use of this variable. You could call it like, instead of this, you could say println number without quotes. Without quotes means it's a variable or a method or something. With inside of quotes means just print the text inside of the quotes. So if we run that, it'll just say 100. Now we can close that. You don't have to just have integers. You can also have Boolean, which is like a true or false thing. You could say public static Boolean button pressed equals true. And you could use this for making like more advanced games and stuff. Now if we go ahead and delete that line of code, and we'll move on to local variables. So a local variable would be created inside of this main method. Now let's create one. You don't put the static. You can put public, but most people just don't, because it's assumed to be public. And with local variables, you pretty much just don't. So we'll just go int I equals 0, I guess. And then you can put I in here. But you'll learn later, if you're trying to access this from another class, you won't be able to access I because it's a local variable. And if you're trying to access it from even other methods inside of this class, just anywhere that's not main, you need to have it as a static variable. You can't have it local. And then you can print out that, you can do that. All the types of variables there are. Here's a list. There's int. I'm just typing them out. I'm not going to worry about errors or anything. Or there's int. There is short, byte, long. Those four are of a category. They all represent different integers, but when you create any integer in Java, it sets aside a certain amount of space on your computer in the RAM of how long you want that integer to be, and int is this medium size, long is the biggest size. Basically, you can store larger or smaller numbers, like down to negatives. Byte pretty much is an 8 digits in binary, so that's a really small number, like 1 to I think 256. But yeah, you pretty much just always want to use int or long. You're rarely going to use short or byte, but yeah, int has some limits, I think around 3 trillion, so you might need to if you're making like a banking software or something. And then there's the decimal ones, which is double, what's the other ones? I believe that's it, actually. I'll post an annotation if I'm wrong there. And then there's the Boolean, and that's it. That's pretty much all the ones that you're going to use. I'll leave, in the description, I'll put a giant list of all the ones that there are. But, yeah, that's all the variables there are. You basically don't want to print, like, true and stuff. I think it'll work, but, like, if you're going to do that, don't do that. Print, like, actually type the word true, because it's just a good coding habit, and if other people are reading your code, if you're like ever like a professional coder, that can get quite annoying to read. Trust me, I know. So yeah, make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment if you have any questions, and thanks for watching.